Greets peeps, this is your boy Tony. I am looking to show you through Crusader Kings 2, the Game of Thrones version. For me, I believe this is actually easier to understand than the vanilla game. The vanilla game seems to have a lot more inheritance rules going on than does the Game of Thrones mod. So we're going to start here, and I will show you through some various different things. We'll choose someone who we can follow right through. Is that what's our date? 7998. 7998. That doesn't sound right. Okay. Is that right? How old is she? She's 15. Yeah, this sounds about right. Okay, so the premise of Crusader Kings 2 is that you follow a single dynasty. When the character that you're playing dies, they'll have an heir, and you will play as that heir. When that heir dies, you'll play as their heir, and so on and so forth. As to who you control, that depends on the government type that you have. If you're a monarchy in this end of the world, you'll what is this called? This if you're in the Seven Kingdoms, if you're playing as a monarchy here, you will usually for everywhere but Dawn, your heir will be your son. If you play in Dawn, your heir will be a son or the eldest son or daughter. If you play in Pentos, they are free city. So if you play as a republic in the, I think they're called the three. What are they? In the Free States anyway, you will have an election to determine who governs the country, which you can try to be elected to, or you can, but you rule a famous house, and that's your dynasty. You don't, your realm, the kingdom isn't yours hereditarily, but your family is, and your family holdings are. And there's different succession rules depending there. Playing out here as one of the Dothraki, the succession rules again are, or I should say, that's all males through the through those republics, but I think Volantis allows male and female. So the terms for this is agnatic, means men only, or agnatic cognatic means men and women. All of the Dothraki are agnatic, men only, and are elected, I believe. I'm not certain if I've even played Dothraki in this. I'm certain I must have at some point. I've played much more of this mod than I have of the vanilla game, because I just love the world of Westeros. I think is it called Westeros? Something like that. Maybe Westeros is only that island. I can't remember. And then there's all sorts of other types over here. Usually either elective from families, as you can see. Yeti is elective families. Karth is elective families. I think Gis are a monarchy. Geese. Did I say geese? And a shy are... I've never played as a shy. I'm slightly tempted. That could be quite interesting. No, what we'll do, for the first one we'll play something that everyone should know. We'll play as Rob Stark, with absolutely zero difficulty to the point that it's pointless. Should we... we could play as Joffrey, that might be more fun. I think Joffrey was actually one of the first, probably the first thing that I ever played on here. But this is a new mod as well. This is sorry, a new update to the mod. This is 1.5. What else? I think if we play as Sweet Robin, we I'm confused. I'm certain he's Sweet Robin. I don't know why he would be Robert. Maybe maybe I've got the names mixed up. Yeah, so we'll I'm just trying to choose somebody. These are all interesting characters for this particular. So Dothraki, Yunkai. Where's Yunkai? Oh yes, over there. Pirates, Pentos. Sir Davos! This is pretty cool. Okay, shall we be Sir Davos? Where is that? Castle Rainwood. And our liege is Stannis. Okay, this is... Oh, we could be Littlefinger. That could be fun. No, let's be Sir Davos. So Sir Davos the Onion Knight, we're a brand new house. We've been given this land, which hang on, we've been given that land, which is the only land we hold by the looks of things. So let's just fire in. We'll jump in and we'll explain some things as we go. Lots and lots of information here. I'm gonna turn off Iron Man mode. There's no achievements for Iron Man in Game of Thrones. There may be two, and I think I've gotten them already. But I like Iron Man. It seems to make the game a little bit more stable. But seems to make the game a little more stable. But I can't jump back and forward and save things. I'm not going to do any save scumming. This game really isn't about save scumming, you know, reloading when things go wrong. It's much. I mean, there's no end date to this game. There's no you must do this by this point. It's very much more about exploring the characters and exploring what the game has to offer, trying different things, and really just having fun with it, as opposed to vanilla, where there is an end date, and as opposed to Europa 4, Europa Universalis 4, where there is a end date as well. This one just keeps going forever, and there's different things that happen that make you that alter how your game goes. Loading. So there's all sorts of game rules in here which you can change, and I'm guessing that the last time I genuinely haven't played this for months now, so it's going to take some time to get to a point where I feel I'm adequately explaining information to you, but we'll go through the basics of it. And this is a prelude to my doing the vanilla game, because the vanilla game, I believe, is more tricky than this. Okay, so the basic premise of this game is that there's three, arguably 4 ranks, arguably 5 ranks, I suppose. Okay, the lowest rank you can start as is as a count. We own this single territory this territory is typically held by the High Lordship of the Rainwood, who owns that entire area by in de jure law. This entire area, this High Lordship, this duchy, would be the term in the main game, in the vanilla game. This duchy is part of a group of duchies held within the kingdom of Stormcloak, which has all of these different High Lordships or duchies. This kingdom is one kingdom held within a group of kingdoms, with the held by the Emperor or High King, I believe is the term, Joffrey Lannister. So here's King Joff. We are our part is the kingdom of the Stormlands, which is held by Lord Paramount Stannis, and then what's one of his subordinates? One of his vassals is they're just called lords, high lords. Yeah, it's all a little tricky, but I'll try to use the vernacular that is used in the main game of Count, and then Duke, and then King, and then Emperor. That's the naming system that game has. You also have within that individual holdings. So you have a mayor that runs a city. You have a what is he? Oh, that's mine. No, hang on. Where's my vassals? So I have a commander who runs a city. I have a no, Castellan is a role within this, so is commander. So regardless, you assign someone to look after your castles. You assign someone to look after your cities, and you can assign someone to look after your temples. We at present have 2 castles and a city within our sphere of influence. One of the first things we're going to do is we want to look to become take over the High Lordship of the Rainwood. To do that, to be able to create this title, we need to control more. We need to control 51% of the countries within this of the counties within this duchy. So we need to, whether by marrying in and doing some duplicitous deeds, take over 2 more of these 4, so we can have 3, and then once we have 3, we can create the overlordship, and they will be the 4th place will become our vassal. This is easier when there's 3 within a high lordship. 1, 2, 3, or 5. If you've got 5, you take over 3. The other 2 will become yours. Exactly as has happened with Tancred Estamont. His vassals here are that guy who owns Weeping Town, that guy who owns Mistwood, that guy who owns Rathrock, and that guy who owns Tudbury Hall. Who holds Rainhouse in that case? Oh, Rainhouse is part of ours. Yes. So this chappie owns 2 of the things. No, he owns 1. Let me count that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And he holds only 1, but he has their overlordship because at some point he was able to create this state, this duchy. So our options here are, we have 3 children. We have 6 children left, 7 children left at the moment. Well done, Sir Davos. I genuinely thought that he had only one son at this point in the books. Very interesting. Okay, so the first thing for us to do is look to marry into another family with whom we could make an alliance. We have 2 pacts at the moment. We have a non-aggression pact with her. So one of our sons is married to this person of House Blackburn. Okay. She's not married to anyone of note. So that's a poor marriage. Let's have a look at this chap. This chap is married to nobody. This chap is married to nobody. Okay, let's see if we can get some marriages for our other sons. If we select the son and then we go to marriage, we are able to go through a list and find various characters who we can marry, that the game suggests to us that we can marry. There's other things that we can do later, but we'll examine those later in the game. So he's 23, she's 33. There's very much a chance she's the heir. Sorry, she has a claim to Blackwood. That's pretty cool. How strong is her claim? Oops. Where was she? She's there. Her claim is weak. So weak claims can only be claimed against women if the claimant is male. Oh, so that's no good. So we'd need to make our claim during a regency, so a regency occurs when the current ruler dies. Oh wow, this is unlikely to happen. No. So there's 5, 6 males in the line, all adults. He's got plenty of kids. That's no use to us. Where are we? We're back here. Let's look for another wife for this chap. So she's the only claimant, but we get some truces with other people. Jane Wainwood, who is the daughter of this lady. No, she's not very good because of her traits. Let's have a look here. She's great. She will do. Who's her? Yep, 2 siblings. So I'm skipping over a lot of considerations here at the moment, but we can go into those later on once we've finished our initial setup. So things we need to do to get ourselves set up is marry a bunch of these people. We need all of our all of our children, squeezing out kids, and giving us a strong dynasty. If we have a look at the Sea House dynasty, at present there's only 8 members. That's us and our sons. So we need to be honest, that's a lot. That will explode exponentially. But it's still a good thing to do, particularly when our heir doesn't have any children yet. We should at the very least get our eldest children married. So he's 23. I prefer marrying my children to the youngest possible options. We could marry him into the phrase. she's not very good. She's reasonable. So the things that I'm looking at here when choosing a prospective wife are these traits here. I happen to know what most of them are, but we'll go through them at a later date. Oh, that's cruel. That's not... Okay, that's different. 16. Yes, there. She's good. That will give us a... She's Stormlander as well. Perfect. Yep. You're getting married to her matey. 20-year-old son. We already married out that 16-year-old. Where was she? I don't know what order this is sorted in, but it's a bit odd. Reachman. Yep, she's got great stats there. She'll do just dandy. And then these other three are... Hang on, did we... No, we didn't do him yet. So we've got a 22-year-old. Let me just check that. We got a marriage there, we got a marriage there. No, did we set a marriage there? We'll let the game tick one day. Oh, I think maybe it takes a couple of days. I think that was all of them. I'm not 100% sure. Actually, this guy's pretty awful anyway. I don't want him breeding. He's got some bad stats there that we don't like. We'll investigate those when it comes to stats. Okay, someone's arrived at our court. Who is this guy? He's our new maester. Cool, he's a good maester. Very good. Now, the other things we've got along the top. We've got unlanded sons, of course we do. We've got no land to give our damn sons. Our complete holdings are that. And within these holdings, we've already dished out this city and this castle, so there's nothing we can give to our sons. I don't know why I've got that marker, although I'm certain one of our sons will come requesting something from us soon, and that will give us the options that we have to give them. So we'll ignore the unlanded sons one for the moment. That has a... We'll go into that when the pop-up appears. Pick an ambition as our next thing that we need to do. Each character that you... whenever you control a character, you can set them up to study in a way that will advantage them in the future. So there's a lot of different options here. Picking an ambition is done using this little... what is that? A cloud with a thinking cloud with a crown in it, perhaps? Okay, so things that we can choose to do are listed along here. All of these do different things. We use these skills here to choose for ourselves what we think is best. So at present, we're an amazing diplomat, which is kind of strange for this character. I mean, he is a diplomatic guy, but he's... I wouldn't say you're classical. You're a classical diplomat, but no, Castellan Justicar is the one. So a Justicar is the we'll go into those soon. So there's all different roles here that we can choose to be, but just going off our scores, our best, we're most likely to become a Justicar. Yeah, we'll go for Justicar. So Davos would like to treat with foreign dignitaries in the court of his liege. I sure would. So now we've set our ambition, that marker goes away. Our next marker is pick a character focus. So that is done using the same icon that's shown up there as in here. We have 8 different spheres that we might choose to operate in. For us, there's different ways of going. So we can look to get ourselves um, increase our primary stat, which is really good already. 22 is amazing. So you start with from 1 through 20 as your base stats, and then I think it's 1 through 10, and then a combination of things are added to that to give you your total. I There's a lot to these stats, but as you can see, there's all nothing but positive modifiers on my on my diplomacy skill. Actually, I'm a charismatic negotiator. I believe that I could push that up further, which would be really cool. So each character has has something that they train in, and I trained in diplomacy when I was younger, or kind of not really, but I guess in game he learned diplomacy from being a smuggler for years and having to negotiate his way through all of life's different situations. So, although I typically wouldn't do this, should I do it? Okay, all of these do different things. We'll come to these later when it's a little bit more important, but I'm going to choose diplomacy, and I've gotten rid of that thingy me bob. So now I'm looking to become the Justicar, the diplomat for our liege, and we're going to do carousing focus, which means we like to party and meet our neighbours and get to know them and make friends, basically. So we're going to have, already with 22, we're going to have quite a good advantage at doing diplomatic things out and about in the world. Our next tag up the top here is we need to designate a regent. So the special minor titles grantable. Regency, we're going to grant to our... So a regent is someone who will take over from you if you are, for some reason, incapacitated. So we'll choose our heir. Our cruel heir. How did he get cruel? He should be zealous, shouldn't he? Who knows? We'll choose him to be our regent because he's going to be the king in the future anyway. And sworn shield. Sworn shields are bodyguards. So we can set. Hey, is that one of our sons? It is. This blood icon here represents that the person is from your dynasty. And scrolling over it says your son. He's great. That's really good. And he's not even that well trained. Cool. So he was our only viable bodyguard. The other, whenever you scroll over one of these, the tooltip is quite extensive. So we can see that one of these must be true. They must not be a councillor and must be a chief general. And one of these must be true. Combat rating of at least 5. So, working from left to right, all of those things must be ticked. Or is not a ruler. If it's is not, it must be crossed out. Yeah. it's all a little tricky, but we can investigate them later on. Okay, so that's resolved now. We'll go back to Davos's. I'm returning to our main screen our main interaction screen by clicking on his portrait. And what's our last two things? 3 children lack a childhood focus. Okay, now do you remember when I said that Sir Davos had trained as a charismatic negotiator? The same thing applies for children. When as you're raising them, you get to choose the type of early childhood education they'll get. This is something that is set when they're 6, and then when they turn 12, you do it again. You choose to refine their training. So this kid is good with diplomacy, with martial, and with intrigue by nature. Um, Nothing has happened here. He's got no modifiers. He's just got base skills in those. So we're going to look uh, to for this kid. We're going to look for something that can do both diplomacy and martial. And if I recall, struggle can provide some. So that's martial and that's intrigue. What's this one? That's intrigue and martial. I'm certain there was a intrigue, diplomacy. Which was the martial one? Sorry, which was the diplo one? Learning and diplo. Okay, so kind, content, and family person are all great traits, but trusting isn't. Humble is a good trait, but shy and craven aren't. Brawny, brawny is the only good trait there. Honest, rude, arbitrary, and dull are all bad. Ambitious, brave, and authoritative are all good. Authoritative is kind of good. And stubborn is bad. Proud is good. Arbitrary, cruel, and ruthless are bad. Kind of bad. Just is good. The others are all very bad. So what you can see is that all of these areas have their different notes. They all have good things and bad things. Zealous and erudite are both good, arguably. Frail is bad. Diligent, honourable, and temperate are all good. That might be worthwhile. Shrewd is good, as is fashionable and diligent, but sympathies for other religions and cynical are both bad, kind of. Patient is good, greedy and paranoid are bad. Oh, greedy's kind of good as well. So what we might do is, there's 3 that I typically choose. I'll typically choose duty, which one is which? I'll typically choose duty, etiquette to try to get these the diplo bump, and struggle to try. No, not struggle. God, it has been a while, I'm afraid. Proud, arbitrary, cruel, ruthless. No. Just, wrath. Ambitious, brave, and authoritative. I'll go for this one because I think the best outcomes almost always come from struggle. I do hate dull and arbitrary, but that's okay. We'll go for struggle for this kid. He's got no stewardship that might make me think that, and he hasn't got more than one intrigue that might make me think over here. For the next child, hang on, we'll do them in order so I can get back to them later. We've done Devon. Let's have a look at Stannis. Let's set a focus for Stannis. Oh, he's 9. Oh, we started the youngest child, it would appear. Okay, so a kid who's 9 has already done a bit more developing than that kid who we saw who was 6, who was 1, 1, and 1. This kid has a much more military bent, so we'll definitely put him in the struggle area. We're not too worried about his learning or his intrigue. And for our eldest son, he's already got a focus. He's 11, so we get to set He's already had some training. Okay, so what you can see is that this kid has trained, but we're allowed to set the focus now because the game didn't have a focus set for him. We can see a couple of things have appeared already. He's picked up haughty, brooding, and affectionate. So he's likely been doing. Oops. He's likely been doing haughty and brooding. He's likely to be have. He's likely to have been doing pride training. Let's get him doing some struggle training, and we'll see what we can do as Davos to bend these traits towards the ones that we like. Yeah, we're going to have a hard time with this kid. He's very likely to be a little grumpy bastard, but that's okay. We'll see what we can do. Hang on, can we bend him away? There's yeah, there's events that allow you as the fathers, as the kids. Oh, he's Stannis's guardian. Stannis is his guardian. Poop. Stannis has some yeah, some not so great traits as a guardian. He's a great military commander. He's pretty good stewardship, but his other skills are pretty poor. And he's got some things in here that we definitely wouldn't want our kids picking up. Ruthless would be a pain in the butt. Proud is annoying. Actually, no, he's really good. Apart from Ruthless, Proud is whatever. That Ruthless is the only bad one, and we can get around that. He's got Lightbringer. Yeah, right. Okay. So we've finished out all of the things. No, we haven't. We've got idle council members. I think that will do us for the moment. We'll come back to council members in the next video. This one's been going for some time. So what we've seen is what we've checked out today was the various rankings in the game. So we started with the people right at the bottom who run castles and cities. We went to ourselves as counts who own one county. We went to the next step up, which is lords who own a collection of counties, or who rule over, not own, they rule over. We went to the kings who own a collection of duchies, and we went to the emperor or the high king who own a collection of kingdoms. We had a look at setting ambitions. We had a look at setting personal foci. We had a look at marriage, and we had a look at training our sons. And I think that will do us for this video. We'll see you in the next one.